Hey everybody, this is Josh with Communitas Christi. I'm going to shoot straight for a minute. You're more than you know, most likely. You're greater than you understand. You have capacities that you can't begin to imagine. You're more beautiful than you would know. We are suffering a collective illusion, delusion, artificially contrived plantation, maybe the most accurate. But it's not the external that's got us trapped. God would never have his children trapped. We trap ourselves. We live under the obelisk of DC and the obelisk of the Vatican, and I'm sure there's more than one in London. We have the pyramid on the dollar. We are God's children living under the slavery of Egypt. And it's not being hidden from us. But we're not Old Testament Israelis, Israelites. We are New Testament Israelites. We have both been shown and given instruction that we are more. 2,000 years ago, we were shown, give or take, we were shown our true inner potential as children of the Most High. And yet, we deified a man who said, "Why do you call me good? No one is good but he who sent me." At the same rite and in that same gospel was crucified next to seditionists, enemies of the Roman government, which historically matches up with crucifixion. But that's another video. If you are not a child of God, then what are you? If you don't come from the same source of everything else, where did you come from? And if you are a child of God, you perhaps should start living like one. Perhaps we all should. Perhaps it's time for the tribe to lift itself up by the britches and walk its happy ass out of Egypt to the promised land. And I'm not leaving America. So there's a metaphor there. I want to read. I write a lot of different things, a lot of different thoughts I'm inspired to. These two were written more recently. Um, so I want to read them, and I'm going to read them real quick. If you spend 99% of your time focusing on this world, then your treasures will be here upon death, for which you will endure 1,000 more lives in attempt to retrieve them. And this one's the big one to me right now, in this time that we're in. As long as we see ourselves as separate, we will continue to destroy ourselves on an individual and communal level. We cannot take advantage of another without eternally losing a piece of ourselves. Amen. Just because it's such a powerful book, I'm going to casually flip to and throw in a Rumi verse. When there's a need for a new phenomena to appear in the world, be it bizarre or gloriously astounding, God will create the desire for it in his people's hearts. Amen. And to prove this was not a pre-chosen page, I've got 2 pages marked on like a loop, and I pulled in between. So that was 117 in Rumi's little book of wisdom. And that looks like those letters were backwards, but I'll see it in the final video. Yeah, God moves it in my heart, and that's why I want to make videos. I'm inspired to share this message, as heavy as it may be for some that are listening. The world as it stands, in the structures of power and the piles of titles and paper authority, is not long in its present form. I don't believe this. The world will be transformed one way or another. Where each of us stand when it happens, internally, externally, and with God. That's on each of us. And if I may prioritize, internally is the top priority. When the outside world seems to be getting crazier and crazier, you want to make sure the inside world is in pristine condition. But the beautiful part about this message, and seeing slowly what I've been seeing over the years, I've been hunting down the true nature of things and why things operate the way they do, and to some degree why the average person does what they do from a more psychological, studying humanity kind of perspective. But I probably spent more time by a lot on like the Illuminati and the structure behind the structure, because I've seen for decades that there's more to what we're seeing. And I've had an intuition since I was very young, before I really believed or knew of a God or believed in a devil or anything. Before I really don't know why. Before I really had any other founded belief, I think I believed in aliens from a ways back, but there was parental influence in that. Maybe something my dad had suggested, but his variation of it was I think I already knew it by the time he brought it up, and I never really settled with his variation of it, although it lingered in the back of my mind as I continued researching maybe more hidden histories of humanity and whatnot. I've known, I've felt forever that we've descended. I was raised to believe we were in the middle of an ascension and that this is representing some kind of peak of humanity. But I've known since I was very young that's BS, and that this was some kind of dissension, that we were in a fallen state, and that I felt here on Earth, or at least in these kind of bodies, like us, humanity as we know it now. I guess now that I know about quantum stuff, I've had this for decades, so I now have information I wouldn't have had general access to when I was younger growing up. But maybe in a separate, parallel reality. But I had access, I felt very connected, and I have access or history or whatever you want to call it. The point is this, is I've known more than I've known anything else my entire life. I've known that we have a way higher capacity than we're presently exercising. And life can be so much more amazing for everybody, which to me is part of amazing. I have zero interest in climbing up a pile of pain and suffering and materialistic nothingness that amounts to garbage when we take our last breath. And yeah, I learned this years ago working estate sales and cleaning up houses and cleaning up people's lives, people that stress so much about everything they own and everything they have, and then they die. I've got right now where I'm staying, I've got access to, there's dead people stuff around me right now. there's stuff that was so important to people when they were alive, and they spent so much time stressing about it or focusing on it, and now they've already taken their last breath. um, some of my favorite stuff came from back then, and was dead people stuff. The expression, you never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. Also, you look at the landfills, and you look at the unnecessary suffering around the world. And they tell us, they, them, the others, they tell us that it's countries and economics and corruption and human nature. And they tell us every excuse in the world, but who are they? If this is the state of the world, why do we have a political class? Why do we have a ruling class? Why are we giving away our power like that and getting such horrible results? I'll tell you objectively, we can run this world 10 times better than it's presently being run. That's a fact. And we can make this a world, and I mean, I'm speaking against the power structure directly, but I have no actual beef with anybody. I love all my fellow humans, and I am working on loving and forgiving. I'm working on forgiving all sins that I've seen, so that I may learn to love all of my brothers and sisters equally, which I am not there right now. I find it harder to love some humans than others, but I love them regardless. And I love you, all of you watching this video. And this is not to put myself up to make myself great. This is very hard and humbling work. You have to kind of kill yourself to do this. There's parts of you and parts of your ego that feel victimized and feel justified and you feel these things because of real actions and real things that have happened. And I forget, I guess I just heard it somewhere else, and I don't want to take anybody's thoughts, but I don't even remember the exact way it was worded. But I remember it was, I just was hearing something to the effect that You take on all responsibility for everything bad that's happened to you, not because that's real or true. We know that that's not true. We know that you didn't beat yourself when you were a child or sexually abuse yourself. We know that, you didn't do whatever the world's done to you. We know that. You know that. But some things are so bad in life that we can't just get rid of them. And that kind of leaves us to control them, dominate them, and take authority over them. And when you start realizing that God is everywhere and in everything, that includes you. And it's because God is in everywhere and everything, the source of all. But humanity seems to be particularly blessed amongst all of present creation that we can witness to. Then we have the highest of callings. And it's not governmental, it's not economic, it's not your 401k. We can bring ourselves together in such beautiful harmony and see what life can really be like. But you have to start by believing in you. And belief in yourself is best achieved through knowing yourself. Look in the cracks and crevices, uncover the shadows, uncover the hidden wounds from a lifetime of hurt and mistreatment, and find the silence between the breaths. Find the silence where your mind stops telling you what is. Because your mind is small and weak and just an organ gone wild, out of control, trying to conquer the whole body and the whole world and destroying both in the process. It is time for humanity to return to the heart and to start thinking and feeling our way through this thing. And if we do this, if we meditate, we spend time in God's presence, in our own house, in our own temple, within ourselves. And when we're not doing that, when we're dealing with the world that we live in, we act as though this is still our Father's house. And these are our Father's children around us, our siblings in God. And start treating each other like that. Stop seeing the divisions of the plantation, the divide and conquerings. Stop seeing the differences. Start looking for the similarities. Start quieting your mind. Start healing your wounds. Take ownership of the burdens that are too heavy to let go. Convert them through source, through light. Become the alchemist. Turn your pain into beauty. Turn where the world was brutal to you into loving forgiveness for the other. Where the world didn't give you your portion, give twice as much every time that you can to another. Be the abundance. Know you are the abundance. There is nothing else. That'll be enough for this video. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. And I hope to see you soon. Peace.